What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? And Daniel Acevedo.
Let's get it going, guys.
What's going on? Well, continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday, Tuesday are topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. So this week I will have on a special guest. She is in the gaming community, which is kind of adjacent to IT and cybersecurity. Her name is Mariah Simone Denson. So definitely tune in for that one. And then last week, definitely check out Rico Rando. So he's a U.S. Marine veteran, as well as a Red Hatter, and the podcast host of Dem Tech Folks, which stands for Develop Every Mind. So check that one out as well. So we've been blessed to have back-to-back special guests. Tune in for all the things. Then Friday, of course, is the weekly rundown where we talk about everything outside from cybersecurity, so movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from Wired.com, written by Matt Burgess, and the title of it is "The Snowflake Attack May Be Turning into One of the Largest Data Breaches Ever." Right. So the number of alleged hacks targeting the customers of cloud storage firm Snowflake, it's snowballing. Right. I like this play of words here. It's like it's the New York Times, or which one's the one in the Post? Whatever one in New York that does the play on words all the time. That's the Post, right? Am I right on that? Whichever one it is. They're doing a play on words. Yeah. Why are you supposed to be telling me this, man? You the New York guy. You know what I mean?
Not anymore. Florida man.
I know. It's all Gators now, you know. But so what it is, the cloud storage firm Snowflake has been the victim of attack, and they are hosting many different services, right? So your Ticketmaster, your Santander, and we did the story on Ticketmaster and how that turned out, right? And all the millions, right, of accounts that were account information that was leaked out there, right? So first they were saying it was they said they had a limited number of customer accounts that had been accessed, right? But like as more and more time goes by, it's more and more, right? So they're saying it's hundreds of Snowflake customer passwords have been found online, right? So that doesn't sound like a large number, right? So you're saying hundreds of Snowflake passwords, but these are in control of, other systems, right? Because Snowflake is the hosting service. If you have it for whatever service is being hosted, hence, Ticketmaster, Santander, or whatever, you then have access to hundreds of millions at that point, right? So the fact that they're kind of getting the keys to the kingdom, right, is what's pretty bad about this, right? So, and this is the thing, right? So a large part of this, it played out on the breach forums, right? So we've talked about this in the past with the breach forums, right? FBI seized the breach forum in mid-May, right? And Ryan, you called it. You said it's going to be back up again, and another one popped up just as quickly as they got rid of that one, right? So the owners of that one was a hacker group called Shiny Hunters, and they claim to be selling the 560 million records from Ticketmaster, right? Which was the story we did before. So this is one of those things, and I've seen this before, and it was always funny to me, and I laugh about it. But I don't know if you guys have ever seen this meme that said, "The cloud is just somebody else's computer." Have you guys seen this? Right? Yeah,
on LinkedIn all the time.
Yeah, it's true. Like, it's so true. It's like people are like, you could put it on the cloud, and they think, I don't know, for whatever reason, they just think there's so much more security. And it's like, no, it is another hosting service. That is another server, computer, or whatever it may be, right? Or a collection of them, right? We know the cloud is just one computer, right? But it's funny to me that there's this perception that it's so much more secure, because things like this can happen, right? Like if they're not doing whatever they need to, and they kind of allude to in the article that maybe multi-factor authentication was not being used, and we've talked about this before, right? Like if you don't have the multi-factor authentication, these are the types of things that can happen. You get exposed like this, and then the hundreds turns into millions, right? Which can turn into billions. You know what I mean? Like, this is how the snowball of it all, right, happens, right? But Daniel, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, this was a good article. It's a little bit longer than the ones we usually do, but I really enjoyed it. There's like a lot to digest here. Reading through the article, we come to like this term, right? Info stealing malware, which I didn't know that was the formal name for this type of malware, but they allude to that info stealing malware is kind of maybe the precipice of how all this came about. There's a lot of like gray area here. They don't know what's the actual catalyst that started this or made everything snowball into this hack and breach. But what they do know is that either it was info stealing malware or in conjunction with previous breaches data using previous users' accounts, passwords, and usernames to then access Snowflake's accounts. So there's very famous info stealing malware out there, and to allude to a couple of them, like Zeus, TrickBot, and Raccoon Stealer specifically are probably some of the more well-known info stealing malware. Raccoon Stealer specifically because it's so easy for people to use, but you have to have like a low tech bar to get it. It's essentially plug and play, press buttons, and it just scrapes for cookie sessions, usernames and passwords, and even crypto keys. It looks if the computers have crypto wallets, and it'll steal that information as well. So with these kind of services out there, and with large breaches as a Ticketmaster and Santander Bank kind of stuff, now you have a large pool of information out there. And that's what we always talk about, not reusing your passwords, not reusing your usernames and these kind of things, because if you get information from a bigger breach somewhere else and then they link it to the Snowflake, now they're getting into a provisioning service that has larger servicing surface to other organizations, right? So that's where the real problem is here. And I think that's kind of like the real nail on the head for this kind of breach. Looking through the bottom of it, though, of the article, there's a lot of different Spider-Man, Spider something, and this Spider-Man, that Spider-Man, just kind of like different groups that they don't know if they attribute it to somebody specifically that did this one. So, but that's kind of like what I saw. And don't reuse your usernames and passwords. You listen to podcasts like this that try to like deep dive and like dissect these kind of things. And, Snowflake's a big organization, and if it could happen to them, it could happen to anybody. But those are my thoughts. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I think you guys are pretty much on target. So before we get into that, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff I always need to say. So we our daily podcast, so Monday, Tuesday, our topics, Wednesday, discussion, Thursdays, Ask a CISSP, where I do an interview with someone who is in the community. So this week was Mariah Simone Denson. She is the president and founder of the Global Patch organization. It's a nonprofit which deals with people of color or BIPOC who are in the gaming and esport sectors of the community. And then we talked about how a lot of those skills transfer to both IT, cybersecurity, and multimedia. So definitely check that one out. It's a very fun interview. And then last week we talked to, it was Rico Rando. So he's a Red Hatter as well as the podcast founder and host of Them Tech Folks. And that was a really good conversation as well. So, and then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers. We are like 90-ish shy. So the goal is by the end of the month to do that. But newsletters is booming, so we're up to 1,300. So definitely subscribe to that. It comes out on Fridays. It's called The Weekly Rundown, just like the episode. And it's chock full of good information. So check that out as well. But yeah, I think you guys are spot on. So the reason I added it kind of last minute was that it's all over my timeline. So everybody's talking about it because it is becoming a bigger and bigger topic just because of the aggregate of data, right? So it's probably going to be the largest breach. If the other one I was going to suggest, and I kind of held back on it because it's still evolving, there's one that's like billions of user accounts were exposed. So it just feels like it's a race to who's going to be the biggest breach of 2024 and then of all time. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And it really is the aggregate of data. So we are not doing so hot this year. So we started out strong. We started out feeling a little bit more secure. But as this year has progressed, and we're only halfway through the year now, it's been getting worse and worse and worse. So we talked about 560 million users exposed by Ticketmaster, and it's probably tied into this. And now we're talking about how this is going to be multi-millions and how easy it is to gain access, like Daniel said, to the software. We're seeing that $10 or less will get you access to these tools, and you don't have to be proficient whatsoever. So it's becoming easier and easier for the non-technical to become hackers and to steal this data. The ease of use is kind of my concern, and how it's now, I don't want to use the same pun over and over again, but it's kind of spiraling into more and more large-scale attacks on cloud infrastructure. So, and that's supposed to be where everybody's going to. Like, we're all trying to get off on-prem to cloud to be more secure, and it doesn't seem to be going the way we had hoped. And I think that had implications for the three-letter agencies as well as the Department of Defense, because that is the future, right? The cloud is supposed to save us all because of the ease of patching and not having to worry about everybody else kind of doing their due diligence to make sure that systems are properly configured and not having to worry about 0 days and things of that nature. But now we're trusting that these sole source organizations are doing their due diligence, and they don't seem to be doing so, or at least they're not prepared to protect our data.
Well, I mean, I don't want to give them 100% of the blame either, though, right? Because Daniel even alluded to it, right? Like with them already doing scraping from stuff that was already out there in previous breaches. And so when it comes to you using the same username and password across the board, especially if they allow you to pick the username, right? You're going to go with what you already know, right? Whether it be first, not last, or whatever.
I would even say on this one too, they did their due diligence by they reached out to CrowdStrike and Median, which are two of the heavy hitters in the cybersecurity community, as assessing a breach to look through their stuff. And the conclusion was that there's nothing that points to Snowflake doing anything wrong, and that's why this breach happened. So it's just like even in the article it talks about which group is this right here, Spider-Man Data or one of the other ones, and it's like a teenage hacking group. So, when you have tools this easy to use with the entry level so low, it's, with other big breaches happening throughout the year, that's just like a recipe. I think this might domino into even bigger breaches throughout the year. So much data out there. And if people keep reusing their stuff, so what's to say that somebody that, has a big service in Snowflake doesn't reuse the same admin account for something else, and now that person has access to Snowflake data, goes lateral into Snowflake's other environment, and that's how they got in. Right? It's really hard unless they drill down. But they have two of the industry's leading best doing this. So if they can't find it, it's going to be hard.
But Ryan, you've alluded to this in the past, though, right? Whenever we have situations like this happen, the hope is that they rise to the challenge, right? It makes everybody smarter because they come up with something different that's like, okay, this is how we defend against this now. Like, this has been a problem for the last couple of years. This is how we innovate. This is how we get better, right? That's the hope.
Right, and then that passwordless future we keep talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a talk coming up where I was going to bring it up, but I don't know how close we are to it. But that may alleviate a lot of this. But then what are the ramifications of that, right?
The ramifications of that is all of a sudden it turns into demolition land, and people are poking out people's eyes with a pen and putting them up to their computers. Like Simon says, he's poking out eyes and doing whatever. That's what that means.
That's a deep cut. I don't know. Like, I think a lot of our graphics know what you're talking about. Which is getting a sequel. Don't know how that works, but we'll see how that. But yeah, so definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. Again, Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask a CISSP, and then Fridays everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. And I think we have a lot of good things to talk about on that one as well, because I was actually able to get a lot of media in. So Godzilla -1, excellent. So spoiler alert. But definitely continue to tune in, subscribe to all the things, hit the bell, hit up all the websites that go by our names, either the other side of the firewall, the other side of the FW, or Ask the CISSP. You can hit me up at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy on LinkedIn, Clubhouse, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, IG, Facebook. Basically doing the opposite of what I say, keeping a small footprint. But that's how you got to find the people, right? And then also articles on LinkedIn and Medium. So definitely check all that stuff out. You can find Daniel on LinkedIn by his name. I always put it in the articles. And then Shannon, you can send me a message and I'll send it. He's in incognito mode in real life. Again, tune into all the things. Stay safe, stay secure.